Most people imagine intelligence as something obvious. They picture the person with perfect grades, an impressive vocabulary, or someone who always seems to have the right answer. But psychology suggests something very different. Some of the most intelligent people don't actually feel smart at all. In fact, they often question themselves more than anyone else. Researchers have discovered that intelligence isn't just about solving equations or memorizing facts. It also shapes how you perceive the world, process emotions, respond to uncertainty, and even how you interact with other people. Ironically, many signs of higher intelligence are often mistaken for flaws. What looks like overthinking might actually be deep analytical thinking. What appears to be awkwardness could be heightened awareness, and what feels like never fitting in may have far more to do with your mind than your personality. The strange part is that people with these traits rarely recognize them in themselves. They assume everyone thinks the way they do. They spend years believing something is wrong with them, when in reality, their brain simply works differently. So if you've ever wondered why you feel out of step with others, this video might answer questions you've carried for years. Here are 7 surprising signs you're far more intelligent than you think. The first sign is that you constantly question yourself. At first glance, self-doubt doesn't seem like intelligence at all. Society often equates confidence with competence. But psychology tells a different story. Highly intelligent people tend to recognize just how much they don't know. Instead of assuming they're always right, they naturally consider alternative explanations and challenge their own conclusions. This idea is closely connected to what's known as the Dunning-Kruger effect. While people with less knowledge often overestimate their abilities, those with greater understanding are more aware of complexity and uncertainty. Rather than rushing to conclusions, your mind keeps asking, "What if I'm missing something?" That habit can be frustrating, but it also protects you from shallow thinking. Before we continue, I'm curious. Have you ever caught yourself second-guessing your own opinions, even when others seemed completely certain? Let me know in the comments because this experience is far more common than most people realize. But questioning yourself is only the beginning. The second sign is that you spend a lot of time in your own head. Have people ever told you that you overthink everything? While excessive rumination can become unhealthy, psychology makes an important distinction between anxious overthinking and reflective thinking. Intelligent individuals often spend more time mentally simulating situations, exploring possibilities, and connecting ideas that seem unrelated. Your brain isn't trying to create problems, it's trying to understand patterns. This internal dialogue helps explain why some people appear quiet in conversations. They're not disengaged, they're processing. Studies in cognitive psychology suggest that deeper thinkers often delay decisions because they're evaluating more variables before reaching a conclusion. What others call thinking too much may actually be your brain refusing to settle for simple answers. And that leads directly to the next sign. The third sign is that you genuinely enjoy learning, even when there's no reward. Intelligent people aren't driven only by grades, promotions, or recognition. They're often motivated by curiosity itself. You might find yourself watching documentaries at midnight, reading about random historical events, or suddenly becoming fascinated by topics you never expected to care about. Psychologists refer to this as intrinsic motivation, the desire to learn simply because learning feels rewarding. Curiosity expands mental flexibility. Every new idea becomes another puzzle piece your brain can connect with countless others. Ironically, the smartest people often know they're lifelong students. The more they learn, the more they realize how much remains unknown. Which brings us to a trait that many people completely misunderstand. The fourth sign is that you often feel different from the people around you. This doesn't necessarily mean you're antisocial. It simply means your interests, conversations, and ways of thinking don't always match what's happening around you. Research has suggested that highly intelligent individuals sometimes experience greater social isolation because their preferences differ from the average person's. They may crave meaningful conversations, enjoy spending time alone, or become mentally exhausted by constant small talk. That doesn't mean they dislike people. It means they're searching for deeper connection. If this is resonating with you so far, take a moment to subscribe. Here on Psychology Unlocked, we uncover the hidden psychological patterns that help explain why people think, feel, and behave the way they do. The fifth sign is that you're comfortable changing your mind. Many people see changing opinions as weakness. Psychology sees something else. Real intelligence isn't about defending every belief you've ever had. It's about updating those beliefs when new evidence appears. This reflects intellectual humility, the willingness to admit uncertainty and revise conclusions. Highly intelligent people care more about discovering what's true than proving they're right. That mindset allows continuous growth because learning requires letting go of outdated assumptions. Ironically, the people who appear most certain are often learning the least. But the next sign may be the one that surprises you most. The sixth sign is that you're highly observant. You notice subtle facial expressions, tiny changes in someone's tone, patterns that other people completely overlook. Your brain constantly collects information in the background, even when you're not consciously trying. This heightened awareness often makes intelligent people seem unusually intuitive. In reality, they're recognizing patterns built from thousands of previous observations. Sometimes you know something feels off before you can explain why. Your subconscious has already connected the dots. Unfortunately, this level of awareness can also become mentally exhausting because you're processing far more information than you realize. And that brings us to the final sign. The seventh sign is that you've often felt misunderstood throughout your life. Perhaps you've been called quiet, too sensitive, too intense, too curious. Maybe you've learned to hide parts of yourself simply because they didn't seem to fit. Many highly intelligent people don't struggle because they lack ability. They struggle because they process the world differently. They ask deeper questions. They notice contradictions. They crave authenticity over appearances. Sometimes that creates distance between them and others who aren't searching for the same depth. But here's the truth. Being misunderstood doesn't automatically mean you're intelligent. Yet consistently thinking differently, seeing patterns others miss, and feeling disconnected because your mind naturally explores greater complexity can all point toward a different cognitive style. For years, you may have interpreted these experiences as flaws. Perhaps they were never flaws at all. When you step back and look at these 7 signs together, a fascinating pattern begins to emerge. What looks like self-doubt is often intellectual honesty. What looks like overthinking is often deeper analysis. What looks like curiosity is a mind constantly building new connections. What looks like solitude is often a search for meaningful conversation. What looks like changing your mind is intellectual growth. What looks like heightened sensitivity is exceptional awareness. And what looks like feeling different may simply be the experience of seeing the world through a more complex lens. Intelligence isn't always loud. It doesn't always seek attention. Sometimes it quietly questions, observes, reflects, and grows while everyone else assumes nothing unusual is happening. That's why so many intelligent people spend years believing they're simply strange. In reality, they may have been seeing the world differently all along. Which of these signs described you most accurately? Let me know in the comments below because I genuinely love to hear your experience. And if this video helped explain something you've quietly experienced for years, share it with someone who might finally feel understood after watching it. The greatest discoveries aren't always about understanding the world. Sometimes they're about finally understanding yourself. If even one of these signs resonated with you, remember that intelligence isn't measured only by tests, achievements, or titles. It's also reflected in curiosity, self-awareness, adaptability, and the courage to keep learning even when certainty feels impossible. Your greatest strength may not be how much you know. It may be the way your mind never stops searching for deeper understanding. Subscribe to Psychology Unlocked for more psychology insights, hidden intelligence traits, personality discoveries, and fascinating human behavior explained.